I'm going to let my guest introduce himself because I can't pronounce the name. What is your name, sir?
It's a rather difficult name. My name is Bhakti Tirtha Swami.
Don't expect me ever to pronounce that. Now, you're a Princeton graduate?
Yes.
And what did you major in?
I majored in psychology.
You went to Hawkins School here, too, didn't
Yes.
you? You're really a Clevelander.
Originally, I'm from Cleveland.
Excepting you look upon yourself as an ambassador to the whole world.
Well, because I'm traveling all around the world, and I am heading certain missionary projects. So every now and then I get a chance to come back and forth. Back to
Well, what
Cleveland.
is your religion? What is it? How is it any different from the average guy's religion?
Well, this is the Hare Krishna movement, and it's a universal movement. It's based on chanting the names of God and being able to come closer to God. Now we say God, we say Krishna. Krishna just means all attractive. But the process is based on what is called the Vedas, which is the oldest and the largest collection of writings dealing with self-realization known to man. These are writings basically from the Sanskrit codes. And they explain so many points about life after death, about how to eat, how to think, how to live.
Well, tell me, what is life after death? What do you know about that?
Well, see, normally one has the materialistic epistemology, and he thinks that everything that he sees, feels, touches, and tastes is all that there is. But we have so many experiences, of peak experiences, of psychic experiences, that lets us know that there is so much more to life than just what normally the senses have contact with. So to...
How do you know that? How do you know there's something more than just the five senses?
Well, for instance, there's so many paranormal experiences that one has. You have altered states of consciousness. Sometimes even through the dream world is another world. And sometimes a person is able to use more of his creative intelligence, such as psychology admits that man uses such a small amount of his knowable faculties. So therefore, what happens if a person is able to use more, then he will find and be able to appreciate more that he is a spiritual being, and he will have more contact with reality that normally he is not experiencing at this present state.
Well, how do you enlarge that? What do you do to enlarge it?
Through purifying the senses. And this is the whole process of Bhakti Yoga. It's how to purify the senses to come closer to God or closer to Krishna.
Well, how do you purify them?
It helps you to love man more and to enjoy life on a higher level. So one of our basic, most significant and profound practices is that we chant what's called the Maha Mantra. So we are chanting this mantra, and it's just a process of calling the names of God. So we recommend that whatever one's religion is, that he should simply call on the name of God in this particular age, and he will gradually come closer and closer to realizing that he is a servant of God.
Well, if you die, what's going to happen to you?
Well, each person, there's what is called karma. And karma means that what you do, you receive back, or you reap what you sow. For every action, there's a reaction. So according to how one is living at this particular lifetime, determines where he will go and what he will do in his previous life.
Well, how many lifetimes, I mean, supposing you've lived a dozen times, 50 times, 100 times, where do you go ultimately?
Ultimately, one is to return home. And home means that one returns back to God. See, now, because we're so confined to seeing things in a material sense, we're thinking that this is actually our home. But the great Vedic writings explain that actually man is not a resident of the material world, but he is a spiritual being, and he's actually a resident of what is called the transcendental or the spiritual world.
Well, how do you know what God's like? I mean, you make that determination?
No, you know how, just like you know anything based upon the authority. If you want to, if you're sick and you want to have some remedy, you seek advice from the doctor. If you need some legal advice, then you consult a lawyer. So similarly, in spiritual life, the same is there, but even more so in a very categorical sense, that if you want to know how to advance spiritually, then one must approach such a spiritual authority who he feels that he can have confidence and repose his attention to, hear from that person, and then execute the activities accordingly.
Well, you sound logical, but you have to accept your premise. I mean...
No, this is a science. See, Krishna consciousness is not just another religion. It's a science based upon doing a certain scheme of activities and getting a certain result. So if a science is not just based on faith, if you try such and such, then you can look and see if the result is there. And when it's proven, then you feel satisfied. It's like I was a student of psychology, and my research, my dissertation was in hypnosis. So from my experiments in hypnosis, I began to realize that there's so much more to be experienced that normally a person is not so much aware of. So through this I became more and more interested in looking at other cosmologies and epistemologies, studying the Vedas, and then practicing yoga. And so now I've become a monk in the Hare Krishna movement.
Well, we're sorry the time is up. You leave me a little bewildered. I'm not certain that I follow this, and if I did, I don't know whether I could accept it, but it's interesting and challenging. There are millions of people who follow this, aren't there?
Oh yes, it's very large